But I think the important notion is this idea of doubt. And we were talking about um, cognitive dissonance. I began the series on cognitive dissonance, I believe, last week, and trying to address now, how do we solve this problem of cognitive dissonance? Um, Recalling that the cognitive dissonance creates in us this doubt, right? We have a belief. Sometimes the belief is stronger, about a particular topic than it may be than on some other topic. One of the examples I think I used was about the dish soap, which in all is not really that important, right? But there are other beliefs that we have that are very important to us, sometimes extremely important. In particular, it is our belief system about whether we believe there is a God, whether we believe that we ought to be worshiping said God or some other deity. And then when society or the accuser presents this area of doubt, which causes us some discomfort, we talked about that, and that this discomfort is what causes us to seek to solve the discomfort, because we, as peaceful relational beings, we want to have more equilibrium. We want to have more balance. We don't like discomfort. Not typically. We don't. That's not something that we gravitate toward. I don't think anyone seeks out discomfort. So when it comes, we try to resolve it. And so we talked about the whole marketing issue and how they are successful because they cause this discomfort within us. When that discomfort is created, whether you want to call it doubt or deception, is maybe not the important thing, but that the discomfort comes, and so we want to settle that. We want to resolve it, and in doing so, we then choose a new behavior, or we choose to rethink the situation. Some call that rationalizing. We may choose to see things from a different perspective, and by looking at it from a different perspective, we're able to resolve the discomfort, right? So, of late, I've been trying to answer some of the questions or comments around the Sabbath. And I know for a lot of people, um, for some reason, this is just a highly contentious area. um, I did not mean to create any contention. Uh, I don't. I neither hold Sabbath keeping against anyone or condemn anyone for the day that they choose um, to give to God. My question is this: if it is not Saturday, the seventh day, and perhaps you grew up with it being the first day of the week, Sunday, my question is, do you use Sunday as the Sabbath, and do you keep it? Or perhaps you use Thursday, or Wednesday, or Monday. Whatever that day is that you choose as your Sabbath, do you keep the Sabbath on that given day? So, for example, when I was very young and my natural parents were living, um, they observed Sunday. And I can recall our day of preparation, as what is spoken of in the Bible, our day of preparation was Saturday. So everything on Saturday was done in preparation for Sunday. So if you were gonna keep the Sabbath on Sunday, then that meant that you weren't gonna do any work. You weren't gonna do, cooking, no washing, no cleaning, no, all of those kinds of things. You would keep all of those worldly behaviors to a bare minimum, and that the entire Sunday then would be devoted to worshiping God and all the things of God. So then when Sunday came, we could essentially be in church from, you'd have to physically get there, of course. You would be there from 8 in the morning, let's just say, for example, to sometimes 8 or 10 at night. And the entire day was spent worshiping, hearing sermons, going to Sunday school, singing worship songs. We sometimes took a break in between. People didn't usually go home. They stayed at the church, because then there would be an evening service. And then the evening service could essentially go until 9 or 10 at night. So you were literally in church services, in worship, some kind of devotion to the Lord the entire day. Now, I'm not suggesting, or even I'm not imposing on anyone that is the expectation, but I am asking the question: the day that you choose to give to the Lord, are you giving that day to the Lord? Or does it really only boil down to maybe 30 minutes? Or maybe an hour? Or maybe 2 hours? Maybe 3 hours? I know that in past times, when I was using Sunday as my Sabbath, I would get up and we would go to church, and church would be over, and boy, we would beat feet to get home and watch a football game, or maybe 2 or 3 football games, if time permitted. And all of that before the sun went down. So was I even using that day as a day set apart for God? No. Perhaps some would argue no. And now there's this debate out there that, oh, well, the Sabbath actually starts in the morning, not on the evening before. Okay. All right. The Bible says that, the day before is the day of preparation. Just like when Jesus was crucified, they wanted to quickly, as soon as possible, get his body down and get him buried before the Sabbath. So all of that was in preparation, right? So the day that he was buried was the day of preparation. Then the Sabbath was the next day. So okay. So if the Sabbath, the argument now is, okay, it starts in the morning, not the day before. All right, so technically, yes, I guess that's correct, since the day before is the day of preparation. So if Saturday is the day, or Sunday, or Monday, or Thursday is the day, now the idea is that, well, it's from sun up to sundown. Okay, so sun up may be 6 o'clock, sundown may be 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock, as the time now is beginning to change. Our sundown is coming earlier and earlier each day, but nevertheless, if that is the description, are we is anyone, are we devoting that entire time of sunlight, of daylight, to the devotion and worship of God? whatever the day is that you've chosen? Or are you only doing 15 minutes? Or 30 minutes? Or an hour? Or 2 hours? Or are you sleeping the entire day? Remember when Jesus went to pray in the Garden of Gethsemane, and he asked the disciples, and he picked those particular three disciples because he felt that they were his closest ones, most devout ones. He picked those, and he asked them to sit watch while he went to pray. And what happened? He found them sleeping. They fell asleep, right? And what did he say? Could you not have just kept watch this time? This time while I was praying? So perhaps sleeping is not a way to worship God. If you know, if that is what you find yourself doing on the day that you choose to use as the Sabbath. So if not the seventh day, and if you decide that it's not the first day, and you choose another day, the question is, are you really doing it on that day? And so therefore, if the day doesn't matter and you choose one, okay, but are you fully worshiping on the day that you choose? That is a question for you to ask yourself. And then I suppose that there are some people out there that are going to say, well, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what day, it doesn't matter how long, it doesn't matter whether you devote that day or not. And then of course, if it's not convenient to do it on Thursday, then we move it to another day, and maybe that day is Wednesday, but then it becomes not convenient to do it on Wednesday, so we shift it to another day and do it, let's do it on Friday, and then that doesn't become convenient. So then does it ever get done? So maybe the day isn't the important thing. Because really, we talked about um, worshiping in spirit and in truth. And of course, Jesus gave many examples where he did do things on the Sabbath. In fact, one day he and the disciples were walking along, and they became hungry, and they went ahead and uh, uh, picked off the tops of some of the wheat and the grain in the field. And the uh, Pharisees and Sadducees, they saw this, and they chastised them for doing work. And Jesus clearly said to them, "Hey, listen, is you know is this the issue? No." But so clearly there were some things that were acceptable. There was healing. Jesus did healing on the Sabbath. He asked the question: if any of you found your donkey, your lamb, your goat in distress, would you not help them? It was on the Sabbath. So the same thing is likewise for us. You know, if our neighbor, in the midst of our Sabbath time that we did set aside, if we ultimately were doing it all day during that daylight time, um, and they came over and they were in distress, of course you would help them, because in essence you would be carrying out what Jesus has commanded, which is love thy neighbor as thyself. So the question really becomes, how important is it to you to worship? I think we can find many examples in the world that people really take those things importantly. I mean, there are some people, who like golf, and they can golf all day long.